read through this mission statement that I wrote today, and then we'll get through. Because it's funny because the video that I dropped today caused a lot of controversy. That's that's what we do here. We kind of stir up the ether, I guess. And let me read this mission statement. Let me just pull up this super chat really quick. Mikey S with a $5.50 Canadian super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Says to buy lenses for those. Yes.
Great cash, homie.
Thank you for the
Great
super
cash,
chat.
homie.
Appreciate that. All right. So, mission statement. So what I went off of, I asked myself, is it okay to have theories? And I wanted to think about that. Is it okay to have theories? Is it okay to have opinions? Is it okay to have thoughts? Okay. So I wrote, and it's almost kind of like I'm writing to myself. Yes, it's perfectly fine to have theories. In fact, theories are a fundamental aspect of scientific inquiry and critical thinking. Theories are ideas, explanations that attempt to describe, explain, or predict phenomenon in the world around us. They are often based on observations, experimentation, and evidence. Theories can be useful in helping us make a sense of complex and abstract concepts, and they can serve as a starting point for further investigations and research. It is important, however, to remember that theories are not absolute truths, and they can be revised or even discarded based on new evidence or perspectives. So whether you are developing theories in science, philosophy, or any other field, it's important to approach them with an open and critical mind, and to always be willing to revise or refine them as new information becomes available. I never said that my theories on this channel are concrete. I've always had an open platform, welcome and listen to everyone that has a voice. There's never anything wrong or right until something is proven correct by the evidence and when a jury decides. I'm a free speech advocate, and as someone who strongly advocates for first speech rights, I firmly believe that the ability to freely express oneself without the fear of censorship or persecution is a fundamental aspect of a truly democratic society. The right to speak on our issues, challenge authority, and engage in constructive dialogue with others is essential for promoting progress and positive change. While there may be some who abuse their freedom of speech, the solution is to not restrict anyone's right to speak, but rather to hold individuals accountable for their words and actions. In my view, any attempt to limit or suppress free speech rights is a direct threat on our individual liberties and health of our democracy. I have an open platform. You don't have to agree with me all the time. That's why I want to hear your voice and your opinions. So I wanted to start the show with that mission statement. A lot leave comments on my videos. I appreciate that. A lot engage here in the chat. A lot people have their opinions, their thoughts on particular things that we get into here. But I don't want anybody to ever feel that you can't have a voice here. That's why we do this. This is a public discourse. This is a channel to come in and freely express. And I love the interaction. I love to go back and forth. I love to pull up the evidence. I love to hear your point of view. That's what we do here. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I'm shouting you down, or I don't like you, or I'm being an idiot, or whatever. Well, I am kind of an idiot, but that's what we want to do here. That's what we do here. That's what we do here on the Opinionated Idiot channel. It is a right to free speech. Is it a right to come in here and have fun? It's a right to respect everybody. It's a right to respect these cases with the utmost respect, the victims, the family, the people that have been accused, until it's concrete evidence that they did a particular crime. And a jury of their peers will decide that. And some cases will go away that I want, and some cases won't. And there are many people in jail that should not be in jail, that are wrongly convicted. But through the power of DNA, which will be strongly used in this case, through that power of DNA, a lot of people have been let out of jail. And there are a lot of advocate groups out there that advocate for that and help these victims. The system is not right all the time. I am not right all the time. I'm not perfect. The system's not perfect. Are there better ways to fix it? Absolutely. Are there things that we can do to change that? Of course. But we have to continue this public discourse because this is healthy for our brains. This is healthy. We don't do this enough in society anymore. We don't have these types of conversations. We don't look at things anymore and analyze. We don't question anymore. I think too many people keep their mouths shut. They need to speak up. Advocate for yourself. Advocate for your family. Advocate for your friends. Advocate for your town. If something's going wrong, you don't like it. Speak up. It's okay. Free and open platform here. And just because I don't agree doesn't mean that I'm shouting you down. So I just wanted to put that out there. Start the show with a little bit of a mission statement. All right, you can go back and rewind it there. Yeah, this is funny. So let me give you a little bit of a context on the channel name. It's irony. It's supposed to be irony. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I just riff things off the top of my head. I'm just some asshole in my bedroom having a YouTube channel, just trying to entertain people. But the opinionated idiot it's a run-on. It's a pun. It's a joke. It's supposed to catch people's attention. I've thought about changing the name. I think maybe when the channel grows, I thought maybe opinionated media or something like that. It'll change at some point. But right now, this is really where my heart is with this name, with this logo. And, you never know. We're just starting. We're still on ground level, guys, and we have to see how it goes. And everything evolves in time. And that's really a great segue. Everything evolves here in time. Your thoughts may evolve with the information that we talk about, that I talk about. Maybe the evidence will convince you otherwise. Maybe you think someone's guilty and then you hear some evidence and you believe that they're innocent. Well, that's why we have that. So that's my mission statement. I appreciate it. Pepper says it's very entertaining. We are all very entertained. I appreciate that. Chris says, great channel name. No one thinks you're an idiot. No, it's a run-on. It's a run-on. And Raggedy says, I like the name, the way it is. Listen, guys, there is 60 people watching right now with only 36 upvotes. We got to get to 50. And then once we get to 50, we got to get to 100. So I would appreciate that. Crazy Pieces, I love this channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Some people might be put off, and that's their problem, not yours. Absolutely. I listen, I reached out to Carrie Rawson the other day. I told her what channel, the name of my channel was. Maybe that turned her off why she didn't do it, but she did left the door open and said, I'm just taking a step back at this time. So I'll re-engage her at some point. Maybe I'll come up with a different name or something. Gonna recognize Moon Vibes here. They have become a new channel member. Thank you so much. Let's give her the tone here, guys. All right, new channel member here. We appreciate you.
I got you, homie.
All right. Can't judge a name. Can't judge a channel by its name. Your mission statement won Wow, that's awesome. Your mission statement won my membership. I support you. I had to really think about writing that today. I think I did like 14 revisions on it. So I'm glad that it went over well with all of you guys. Okay, so let's get into the show. So the first order of business I want to look at, which is getting a lot of shit right now on some of the Facebook pages, is the Goncalves family has set up a Amazon wish list. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. I'm going to leave this open to debate how you guys feel there in the chat. I have kind of my stance on it and how I feel, but let's read through this article really quick and to give you guys some context here. So it says the family of Kaylee Gonzalez develops an Amazon wish list left for her dog. Murphy is adorable. Kaylee Gonzalez family develops an Amazon wish list for her puppy, who is having a perfect life with her ex Jack. And there's Kaylee's dog right there. With a photo of Jack, and unfortunately, it's just an unfortunate situation we're looking at here. So, Moscow, Idaho murders victim Kaylee Gonzalez's family shared a touching tweet about her dog Murphy, stating that is having the best life with Jack. I'm trying to drop this ad. There's Google ads everywhere. It's annoying. Best life with Jack, Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. They have also set up an Amazon wish list for Murphy, including pet in shape beef bone dog treats, angel hair dog delights chewy, lamb stick grass feds, mammoth floss chews tug rope. Murphy has been living with her ex-boyfriend Jack. I'm not going to say the last name since Kaylee's death. This is for everyone who has inquired about Murphy. And I believe that they are getting inquiries on Instagram a lot. And that's why they actually went ahead and did this, and through Facebook as well, too. Murphy is having the time of his life with Jack on Facebook. The Gonzalez family stated Murphy is overjoyed since he gets to embark on so many adventures. Several people have asked whether they may give him anything, so they created a Amazon wish list for him. We want you to understand that this is a wish list. It's not necessarily a list. So this is something that they're not asking you to donate. It's at your free will if you would like to do it. In Murphy's honor, we'll be giving numerous items to our local animal shelter apart from God. The only thing our family needs is all of you. We are grateful for all of you, your encouragement, good wishes, and prayers. Much love to everyone. I know we already know the details of the case. It warms my heart. One social media user commented on Facebook stating, I hope Jack receives as much love and comfort from Murphy as Murphy boy does from him and the rest of the world. We still adore and support you tremendously. You have got us the world thrown its arms around you. We pledge to not let you go until you see justice for your precious daughters. One said. According to one user, I've been following you from the beginning. I freely think about you. I hope that God provides you all the serenity and strength when things come tough. Many blessings and prayers from Palm Springs, Florida. My heartfelt, it just goes into more kind of quotes here. I'm always thinking of you. We love you so much. We're glad that Murphy's lost and Jack is sending you. So essentially what's happening here is that a lot of people, and I especially see this a lot in the Facebook groups, are kind of shitting on this kind of proactive campaign from the Gonzalez family, saying that, why do they need this? They're just milking it. Look, the bigger overall thing is that they are donating any items that are not accepted to their local shelters. And I guess there's like some cat food on this way, and people are like, why is there cat food on? They don't need this and they don't need that and this and that. Blah, blah, blah. To me, the way that I look at it, my opinion on it is they're giving back. They're starting something in donation. And if they can help some local dog and cat shelters out, I'm all right with it. How do you guys feel about it here in the chat? Let me pull up a chat. I think I got to get to this channel member. New channel member, a beautiful mind, has become a channel member and has supported the channel. So let's give her a channel member welcome.
I got you, homie.
All right. All right, so thank you so much for that channel member. I do appreciate it. So I got a little lost there for a second. I'm like, where am I in the show right now? Heather says that I'm totally fine with what they're doing. If people don't agree with it, then they don't have to donate or look at their page. I completely agree. If you don't like it, don't have to go to it. If you don't like my YouTube channel, don't have to watch. You know what I mean? That's the way that I look at it. Um, Look, guys, we're very close to 50 upvotes. Let's get to 50. We only need 6 more there in the chat. Well, let's pull it up. Let's take a look at it. We can pull it right up from the article itself. Let me pull the wish list up, and let's. I just want to make sure none of my. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pull it up because it would dox personal information on my Amazon account, like my zip code and all that stuff. So I'm not gonna pull that up. Actually, you know what? I might be able to. Hang on. Let me just look. Actually, I can right now if I just don't scroll up to the top of the page. Let me see. Oh, I hope I'm not doxing myself. I think we're fine. We're good. So yeah, these are some of the items here. On that, it says at the top here, I have to learn how to enlarge the page. This says, this is a wish list for Murphy. Much love to you all. We will be sharing donating items with our local animal shelter, Tenii Humane Society. So it looks like that's where all the stuff will go. And here's some of the items that you can go through and pick if you would like to. If anybody wants to donate to this registry, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. We're at 48 upvotes, guys. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch on that before we go a little further into the show. So my next topic is BK's life behind bars. Let's take a look and see what's been going on with the latest update for BK. I'm going to pull this up from TMZ. TMZ states, let me just do 1 second, guys. Hang on 1 second. Just doing an order of business here really quick. Okay. So let's see. From TMZ, BK watches news coverage of murders behind bars. This article was on TMZ on 3/15/2023. It goes on to state, BK, the alleged quadruple Idaho murderer, spends his days watching TV and more specifically news reports on his own case. Kohberger is segregated from other inmates in the Latah County Jail in Moscow, Idaho. This according to Newsweek. And this is actually the Moscow, Idaho jail, county jail. It's a picture of it here. It says the alleged killer has his own TV and basic cable. One inmate tells the Daily Mail he watches himself all the time, referring to news reports about the murders. The inmate adds, it's really kind of bizarre. The DM goes on to say Kohberger has found God meeting with a local pastor on Sunday mornings. The alleged killer faces 4 counts of first-degree murder. The death penalty is on the table, though prosecutors have not said if they will seek it. He will be held in the Moscow jail until his preliminary hearing in June. So that's a small article there from TMZ. I'm going to pull up a more in-depth one over from the Daily Mail. Let me just get to this $2 super chat. And guys, if you really want me to grab a chat, just super chat it there. We'll bring it up because I can see color a little bit more when I'm reading. So any in-depth things that you want me to pull up, please do. So Teresa says, of course he watches the press. We all do. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you. Okay, so let's pull this article up from the Daily Mail. This one's a little bit more in depth. God, there's so much pop-ups on these sites. It says, Searing new insights into Bryan Kohberger's jail life as told to dailymail.com by his fellow inmates, he obsesses over TV coverage of his own case, has turned to God, faces constant taunts from other prisoners. Little subtitle um, quotes here say dailymail.com spoke with current informant inmates as well as jail sources who told of accused quadruple murderer Bryan Kohberger's behavior behind bars. Kohberger, 28, has been locked up without bail at the Latah County Jail in Idaho since early January as he awaits trial. He meets with his local pastor, who leads him in prayer every Sunday, follows his trial on the news, and seldom speaks to other resources. So it goes on to say Bryan Kohberger is obsessed with the following his own case behind bars and has now found God attending Mass every Sunday, sources said. DailyMail.com spoke with current and former inmates as well as jail sources to discuss Kohberger's time at jail. Among the revelations are that Kohberger gets daily access to television and likes to flip on the news coverage to follow coverage of his own case. He watches himself all the time, one inmate told dailymail.com. It's really kind of bizarre. And this goes back to, that what I've said, those narcissistic tendencies. I think, in my opinion, that he is relishing in all this. I think he loves the attention. I think that he's going to love the courtroom attention when he gets in there, like a Ramirez, like Bundy. They love that. Manson, when he went to court, loved all that. Most these crazy people really are into that. So Chris says, as chat's a little slow, sorry guys. Chris says, I'm not surprised he followed the case. Heather says, Bryan, in no way am I asking where you live. I'm curious if you ever lived in Massachusetts. I hear a Boston accent every once in a while. I do live in the state of Massachusetts. I do. It's pretty evident. I think a lot of people have figured that out already. Yes, I do live in the state of Massachusetts. I've moved out to Connecticut for like 3 years for a job opportunity. I lived in Texas for a little while, been down to Florida, up to Vermont, and I always seemingly find myself back here to Massachusetts, which I don't want to live here too much longer. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. That's neither here or there, I guess. Miracle Landy Boy is in the house. Welcome to the chat. Thank you. We have 97 people watching and literally only 55 likes. Come on. We got to get that up to over 100 tonight, guys. Let's work on hitting that. Smash that like button. Let's smash the like button because we need that.
Come on, man.
We need that.
How dare you?
Come on. Let's get it going. Okay, let's get back to the article here in the chat. So it says the accused quadruple murderer has been locked up without bail at the Latah County Jail since early January. Steps out of his cell around 7 p.m. on Sundays to meet with local pastor who leads him in prayer. He sits down with a pastor and receives his own private mass. A source inside the jail said, It's just the two of them, and no, I have no idea what they might talk about. It goes on to say, by all accounts, the 28-year-old has been a model prisoner, a jail official tells dailymail.com. This despite facing taunts from inmates who sometimes shout at him as he shuffles past their cells. When one inmate named Tyson hollered, bitch, I don't know why I held on to that. I don't want to scream it, but yelled bitch at the accuser murderer during a recent weekday. Kohberger barely flinched, turning towards him with a menacing stare without breaking stride as he proceeded down the hall, according to one inmate who watched it happen. He always has the same expression or non-expression, said one inmate who met with Daily Mail reporter in jail. He looks straight ahead. I've never even seen his eyebrows or mouth move. He never says anything. Kohberger spends most of his time alone in a private cell kept apart from the other inmates who share cells. He rarely, if ever, chats with jail inmates who typically only see him when he walks past them. Just going to get a quick drink of water here, guys. They say he maintains a steely stare when he steps out to meet with his lawyers or to visit the library, and that he's always flanked by several correction officers who escort him wherever he goes. The jailhouse is a couple dozen inmates in a sprawling basement directly underneath the Latah County Courthouse and Sheriff's Office near downtown Moscow. Opaque windows to some of the cells face a quiet side street located just a quarter mile from the rental home where the 4 University Idaho students were slaughtered during the pre-dawn hours of November 13th. Wow, that is crazy. This dude's only a quarter mile away. Wow. That's crazy. Police arrested Kohberger. We already know that. Someone says here, an inmate says, I hope he gets the death penalty. Inmate Harrison Papillon said, I'd be shocked if he didn't. Latah jail officials remain tight-lipped about Kohberger's time behind bars. One official told Daily Mail that Kohberger's been well-behaved during his time there with no incidents. The official also pointed out that Kohberger's strict vegan dietary needs are being met by a vendor that prepares meals for prisoners. So again, this is another form of control, in my opinion. He's controlling the system. He's asking for these annoying things to gain control. And that's what I think a lot of this crime was about. Control, having control over a person, having control over the situation. He's clearly doing it here. He's clearly doing it in prison. He has multiple guards guarding him. That's control. You're a high profile inmate. That's control. You're controlling the system. And I think he's a master manipulator at doing that type of stuff. So I wanted to bring that article up for you guys. And then I have a small segment here from News Nation. Yes, everybody's favorite network. And no, it's not with Banfield, so I won't get shit for that tonight. But we'll get a little insight to what they're talking about here.
Since December 30th, 2022, when Moscow, Idaho Police Chief James Fry announced that Bryan Kohberger had been arrested in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, he's been behind bars. 5 days later, January 4th, arrives in Idaho, where with the exception of court appearances, he's remained inside a Moscow, Idaho jail awaiting
Let's get to
trial.
100 likes.
So what's life look like for Bryan Kohberger over the course of the last few months? Going from a graduate student and sometimes even teaching assistant studying criminology to an infamous murder suspect. He's currently being held in the maximum security portion of the 2,000 square foot Latah County Jail, which in its basement has him segregated from all others. News Nation has learned that this portion of the jail is just 4 cells and that 3 of them are currently empty. So Kohberger may find himself a lonely man these days, both literally and figuratively. But a source with intimate knowledge of Kohberger's life inside jail tells News Nation that he's quiet, does as he's told, makes no trouble. They went so far as to say, quote, he does not seem like a psychopath.
So you got to think, Aria, you got to think this is not the big house. This is county jail. Usually things down in county jail are super soft. They have day rooms. They have times that they can get out of their cell and and kind of hang out all together. Some may choose to just stay in their cell. It looks like that Kohberger is being obviously segregated because it's high profile. So it's very, very different in our county jails. I'm not sure where you're from, but you have county jail. Then when you're convicted, you go off to prison, and that's usually hardcore time, depending on what level prison you go to. Let me get to this 199 super chat. Miracle Landy Boy says it's 1 a.m. here, and I had to stay awake for your show. I appreciate you really hanging in there, and watching the show. That's really great. It's super late there. I hope we don't keep you up too late, but thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for that chat. Victorine says, I made it for the live. Awesome. Anything you missed, you can go back and rewind it after. Listen, we have 121 people watching. We're at 77 upvotes. I need you guys to smash that like button. Our goal always is 100 upvotes. Every stream, 100 upvotes. I need you guys to go down there. Let's work the room. Come on, moderators. Let's work that room. Let's get everybody smashing that like button. It's super easy. It takes 2 seconds. Just click that upvote button. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on with the rest of this video.
Join us now, NewsNation Senior National Correspondent Brian Benton, and back
Let's go 100, 100, 100,
Weber.
100.
Right. Brian, you have been at the forefront of the NewsNation reporting on this.
Amber has said at 100 she's going to give away a free membership. Manny says so many massholes in here and I like it. Come on, we're going to get a free membership if we get 21 more upvotes. A free membership. I mean, why wouldn't you want that? All right, guys, I got a phone call here. We're going to pull up this phone call. Opinionated idiot. Who's this? Hello? Nope. Well, maybe they'll call back. Caller, call back if you would like to. Phone lines are always open, 774-855-9400. Okay, we'll go back to the video here.
Tell us a little bit more about what we know about his time in jail.
First of all, Dan, I think when people hear county jail, they might think it's, a big place. This is a very, very small jail. You mentioned
right.
2,000
square feet. Call here. Let's right. This call. Opinionated idiot. Hello? Hello? No, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Is it connecting to my Bluetooth? I don't know, caller. Try calling back. I don't know why my phone is not working, but we'll move on with
underneath the courtroom. There are only 3 guards, we're told, that work there at a time. A couple of dozen inmates. Most of the inmates are kept together in one portion of the jail. Kohberger is kept in another section. He's in a cell by himself. He doesn't get out much, a little bit of exercise. Every time he's taken out, he's escorted either by 1 or 2 guards. He does have a TV, we found out, Dan. He has a number of channels, basic cable. He can change the channel to whatever channel that he wants to. The other inmates share TV, but Kohberger has his own TV because he's sort of in his own little section of this small jail in a cell over to the side there.
So we had said, though, that he had no other
try again, subconscious.
No one else is in the cells next to him. So explain that to us. There's a TV
I don't know what's going on, but
of the jail, you mean
should be fine.
Separate from these 4 cells we were just talking about?
We're at 83 likes. We only need to get to 100, and then someone's going to get a free membership.
Kohberger has his
That's
own
all we need.
TV
Just I need
what? He's about 30
something more people just
from where the other inmates are, I'm told. So
you know what I can do?
Hear what he's watching on TV.
I'll try calling you back. Why don't we do that? Let's see. Aha. Opinionated idiot. Hello? I don't know what's going on, guys. Phone's picked up. Let's see. Let me try turning my speaker on. I don't know if you can hear me, caller, but let's see if this connects. Hang on there, caller. Let's see if my Bluetooth speaker connects. Are you there, caller? I don't know what's going on, but I cannot hear you. We have tried. We have tried. We're just going to try again. Hang on 1 second. Hello? Yeah, there's nothing here. I don't know what's going on with the phone. Let me try restarting my phone, but everything should be fine because I have had multiple calls before on the show. Sorry to kill the vibe of the show, guys. I'm going to restart my phone, but we're going to keep playing through this video while I do that.
Him very much. He doesn't come out of the cell very much. He does go to mass on Sundays, we're told. Basically, they get some.
No, it's not on
together
mute.
and there's a
I don't
mass
know.
on
I don't know
Sundays.
what's going on.
He does
I'm
come
gonna
to
try
that
restarting
mass
my phone.
there, but he doesn't have any other dialogue with the other inmates. And then after mass, he goes back to it.
What's this business about him being obsessed with media coverage of his case?
So we are told that he has.
All we need to do, guys, is get 11 more upvotes, and then we're going to give out. One of my awesome moderators is going to give out a free membership. Come on, that's a free membership.
TV and he can pick the channel, and we're told that oftentimes he has the news on when it is stories regarding his case, and that he is watching those stories in his cell.
Also, he's got a very strict diet.
Yeah, he's vegan. He's been vegan for quite a while, Daniel.
Hello?
Is this the caller that was trying to call in?
Yes, this is Subconscious now.
Hey, how are you, man?
How you doing?
Good, good. Welcome to the show. Who am I speaking with?
Subconscious now.
All right, I got you.
I'm doing okay. Okay, so I'm on right now?
Yeah, of course. You're live on the air, my friend.
Okay. Yes, what I wanted to say in relation to this Kohberger case is that I really think that but we should kind of slow down on automatically and I'm not saying that you are, but some people are automatically assuming that Kohberger is guilty.
Yep.
I'm not saying that he is or isn't. I don't, don't get me wrong.
For sure.
But I do believe that I'll just be honest.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before I say it again, I think as far as what we know thus far, right? I think that the number one people that should be looked at is law enforcement.
Okay.
I mean, they did the most vicious things, in my opinion.
Okay.
First things first.
Sure.
Let's start. I mean, we can get to the evidence, but first things first, right? If anybody causing the crime, if you caused in the crime, let's say you walked into your home and you saw there was a dead guy in your home.
Sure.
And you had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Just because you called it in and you was at the scene of the crime, you're going to automatically be a suspect until further notice.
Okay.
Now, what's going to excuse you from being a suspect is when you start giving your story. They'll be able to say, okay, we can tell opinionated wasn't there, he
Sure.
survived, and that'll clear you up. But Dylan supposedly gave that story. She said somebody killed 4 people, walked right past her, and did her nothing. And the trained law enforcement heard that story from somebody who was at the scene of the crime,
Mm-hmm.
and within a matter of days, said that they believe that she had absolutely nothing to do with it. Once that happened, I got suspicions about law enforcement. And if you really and you probably read the affidavit and everything,
Yeah.
if you really break it down, that story that they said Dylan supposedly gave benefits law enforcement and not Dylan.
Okay.
Put yourself in Dylan's shoes. If you're really trying to get away from the crime,
Yep.
First of all, typically, if you don't want to have anything to do with something, you're going to try to distance yourself from it, right? In the affidavit, it says that she initially was on the second floor, which means if she initially was on the second floor, she eventually ended up elsewhere. If you truly want to lie and get away with the crime, you would distance yourself from the crime, for one.
Right.
And you certainly wouldn't tell the police and expect them to believe, oh, the guy who killed these people, he walked within a foot of me. I was able to identify him and everything. He just walked right past me and didn't do anything. If you wanted somebody to believe your story, if you wanted to lie, why would you? That's why a bunch of people are saying, "Come on, are you serious? Who's going to believe that story?"
Okay.
My question is, why do we think Dylan is silly enough to think that would work? I mean, that probably would. I mean, if somebody wants somebody to believe something, why would they tell them that? And if you're a trained law enforcement, if the whole public can hear how fishy that story sounds, how can you hear that? And then in a matter of days, just automatically say you believe they have absolutely nothing to do with it.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry to cut. Yeah, go ahead. Go. I'll let you speak, and then I just have a question.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
For sure. So let me ask you, do you think that the way that's kind of society's been over the last maybe 3 to 5 years with law enforcement, and again, I'm just throwing an opinion out there, do you think this has really made a lot of people suspect with law enforcement, especially our government lately?
This is as far as in relation to this case.
Sure.
Are you talking about in general?
I think in general, where this could create this narrative that, because I always hear this too, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but I always hear this too, is that everybody's like, wow, it's law enforcement, it's cartels, it's this. What I'm trying to get to is, why do you think law enforcement is involved in this? Why do you think what would be their motive to do this? So let me ask you, are you saying that Kohberger has nothing to do this at all, and that law enforcement would just go there and whack out 4 kids in the middle of the night, and then that's kind of where we are now, and they're trying to blame someone else for it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, okay. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, sure.
Please feel free to interject, and
yeah,
I want to have dialogue about it.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying Kohberger, law enforcement, or even Dylan or Bethany have it. Right now, I'm saying what I want to do is wait for more information to come out.
Sure.
So I can make a more informed decision. I believe that people are already sold on certain things, including Kohberger.
Yep.
And I don't think that there's really enough to be sold on Kohberger right now. As far as with law enforcement, if law enforcement is involved, and I'm not saying that they are or that they aren't. And I break down a lot of this stuff on my YouTube channel called Subconscious. If you really want to know how I feel about certain things, you can check it out on there.
I will check you out, of course, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I love your approach in this. I love having like this civil conversations, because I don't think a lot of channels do that, or a lot of people do that in general. I think they get to a certain, like just the way that things are now, my friend. Like people just, they hear something and then they start screaming at each other. You can't have discourse like that. You have to have civility. I may not be agreeing, I may not agree with you right now, but we're talking it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, the thing that I look at is that when I go through all the documents, when I look at the PCA, when I look at all the documents that have come out, to me, in my opinion, the information is strong, and I think that it's pointing towards Kohberger. I think there's still a lot of undiscovered things that are going on. I still haven't figured that out, because there's some time gaps and time frames that need to be filled in. But for me right now, it's pointing towards Kohberger. But I'm not sure if there's anybody else involved. Some days I sit here and I say, I don't think there could be. Some days I sit here and I say, well, maybe. But I think truly the only way we're going to hear this is when this gets to June 26th, and we hear the opening prelim, and hear, more, because they're compiling evidence right now. I mean, it's not like we're just stopped on this investigation and we're going to wait till June. So they're building their case, of course. And I think a lot more stuff's going to come out. A lot of stuff's going to come out.
Yeah, that, which is kind of part of my point when I say, I don't think that people should necessarily form an opinion right now based on what we know, because, like you said, in your opinion, you feel one way.
Sure.
And I do want to break down why I feel like this evidence is extremely weak.
Okay.
But that's why I think when people say more information gonna come out, we have to wait to see if more information is going to come out or not. See, that's automatically giving the benefit of the doubt to the police. Well, we don't know what they're gonna have. Well, we don't know what they don't have either. That's why I say,
of course,
I just clear it down the middle and say, let me see what's going to be presented. But to answer that question about law enforcement being involved, if law enforcement is involved, not saying they are or that they aren't, but if law enforcement is involved, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to literally go in and kill 4 people themselves. They can just be involved in covering something up.
What do you? All right, so can I stop you there? What do you think they're covering up? Why would they do this? That's why I'm asking. Like, what? I don't know. I don't understand. Like, you got to give me something. Like, oh well, there was a case, there was a drug. Like, I don't know. Like, you got to give me something.
No, see, it's not a matter of if I can pinpoint what's being covered up.
Okay.
It's a matter of these things not adding up, and this can look like a potential cover-up. Now, it's kind of like what, and I said this in the video.
Gotcha.
See how law enforcement don't have to give a motive to why Kohberger did it?
Okay.
It's the same thing, right? They don't have to give a motive, but they can say, you know what? We might not know exactly why he did it, but this is why we believe something is going. It's the same thing with law. I can name certain things why I feel like there could be a potential cover-up, even if I don't know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
I can say this, and that.
All right. Let me hear your this and that then. If you, I want the audience to hear where your this and that is. If you can give me a few of them. Yeah.
Part of my this and that is what I said earlier. The very fact that somebody told you this unbelievable story, somebody who was at the scene of the crime told you this unbelievable story that even the public are looking at like, come on, are you serious? And in a matter of days, you say that person had absolutely nothing to do with the crime, just flat out, just like that. Mm-hmm. Now, people in response to that would say, well, you don't know what the police have. Exactly. We don't know. What we know as the public, we know the story Dylan told. We see all the gaping holes in it. And as far as we know thus far, that's all we have to go on. So to say they believe police, they feel like police have a reason to believe that story, it would just be automatically happening on the police side because you don't know what the police have to say that story is credible or not. We got to just go off what we have. So I think most people can say there is a bunch of holes in Dylan's story that, sound real shaky.
Sure.
And that's all so knowing that, you have to just say it's a shaky story until you have further proof that it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, another thing. Let's talk about the night sheet, because I think that's probably the biggest thing that makes people believe that Kohberger did it, because it's DNA. I mean, you have something that's as good as DNA that, that would be like real strong evidence. And I understand that.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Right after we get off this call, I'm actually doing a segment on touch DNA. So I have another segment after this, and we're going to lay it all out. I'll put it out there in the ether and see what you guys think about it. But I like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just going off of articles and things that I see. So I'll pull some of that information up. We can look at it and maybe, I change some minds either way. I try to just put things out there in the ether. That's what I do here on this channel. And I let the audience decide, or people like you. I love this call. This is fantastic. So I'm hearing a voice. I'm hearing a different view to this case, and that's what I want people to do. I want people to call in. I want people to comment. I want people to discuss this because we should. And I talked about that at the beginning of the show. Having free speech, having the idea, putting things out in the ether, having productive conversations, using our brains. I don't think a lot of people do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I actually touched on that. I got a video I might have made 3 videos ago called Kohberger's DNA. Mm-hmm. That's another video that people might want to check out. But let's talk about this night sheet.
Sure.
Because I get why people would hear what's been put out in relation to this night sheet and would believe automatically that means Kohberger is guilty. But there's not one person. There are 3 people who are referenced in relation to the night sheet in the affidavit and in the unsealed search warrant. You have Detective Talbert, you have Corporal Payne, mm-hmm. and you have Sergeant Blaker.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one person in the affidavit or in the unsealed search warrant who can flat out say that they saw a night sheet. Okay. Blaker said he heard about it. Talbert didn't know if it was underneath Maddie or on the side of Maddie, which will make you question, was he even there to see it himself? Because if he was, he would know if it was underneath or on the side of Maddie. And they say Blaker is referencing Talbert. So if he's referencing somebody who might have heard about it, that means Blaker only heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Talbot only heard about it. Now you have Corporal Payne. Corporal Payne said that he saw something that appeared to be a night sheet. Now, the very fact that you say you saw something that appeared to be a knife sheath means you have a level of doubt at what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, Sergeant Blaker and Corporal Payne showed up at the house together. It's in the unsealed search warrant. They got there together. Officers showed them around together.
Right.
Brought them upstairs
Right.
together. They got to the room where Maddie and them was together. Went in there together. None of them saw a knife sheath. Blaker came back and said later on somebody told him about it. Corporal Payne said later on he saw something that appeared to be a knife sheath. Mm-hmm. And both of them said that the knife sheath was visible from the door. Well, if both of y'all got there together and the knife sheath was visible from the door and then both of y'all walked in, how come none of y'all still didn't see it? And then later on you heard about it. And then later on you say you saw something that appeared to be a knife sheath. So in the affidavit and in the unsealed search warrant, there's not one person who can, where's the guy who just flat out saying, it was me, I collected it, I grabbed it, I bought, doesn't exist. I'm not telling you that that won't be something that come forward, but if we going off what we have thus far, there's not a person we can identify who can flat out say they saw or collected a knife sheath. Now, this is even more. In the unsealed search warrant, they're still asking to get in Bryan Kohberger's apartment to find the sheath, but the sheath was supposedly already found.
Okay.
They say in relation to the weapon, that there has been no weapon recovered. Any weapon or any sheath for the weapon, we believe to be found in Kohberger's apartment. That they was telling them that because they needed to try to get the search warrant to get in his apartment. Now, the person who is filing for this search warrant is Don Daniels out of Washington. That person is in Washington's law enforcement. So he don't have the inner workings of maybe Idaho investigation because he's in Washington. They say, hey, we need you, a law enforcement person in Washington, to get a search warrant. We over here in Idaho. This is what we have. Now, you got to keep an account. Don Daniels is going off what he's being told. Sergeant Blaker told this man, told this person they heard about a knife sheath. Detective Tolbert sounds like he's telling him he's heard about a knife sheath. So if you're Don Daniels and you hear, and this is word of mouth that you're getting about a knife sheath, and not one person is telling you flat out, hey, we discovered it, such and such collected it. When Don Daniels is trying to get a search warrant, he could be under the impression that a knife sheath is not discovered because everybody who's telling him about a knife sheath is word of mouth. No, there's not a person who's saying that they discovered it. So maybe that's why he's asking to get in an apartment to find the knife sheath. But why he's asking, I don't know. But flat out in the unsealed search warrant, she's asking to get in that apartment to see if the knife sheath or the actual knife itself is in Kohberger's apartment. So there's no real evidence that we have thus far that anyone has seen a knife sheath and someone is still even asking to get in the apartment to find it.
So I'm looking at here in the statement on page 18 on Blake's statement. Says, as I entered the bedroom, I could see two females in a single bed in the room. Both Gonzalez and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I was later advised by ISP investigators that they located a tan leather sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. When viewed from the body, the sheath was later processed and had a K-bar, USMC, and United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Ohio State Lab later located a single source mail of DNA left on the button snap of the knife sheath. So right. ISP was the one that let Blake know.
But okay, Detective Tolbert is ISP.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy who didn't know if it was underneath Maddie or on the side of Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even in the unsealed search warrant, it says that when they talk about Detective Tolbert, they say that when he mentions the knife sheath, it's referenced again by Sergeant Blaker. So it sounds like it's saying Sergeant Blaker got his information from ISP Detective Tolbert. Mm-hmm. But if he got his information from somebody who didn't even see the sheet, what are we really like?
I don't think I'm going to convince you, man.
I mean, what do we?
You're pretty deep. You're pretty deep in this. So,
I'm okay. Let me. Okay, let me just. Like
I got you.
Dialogue.
No, it's all right. I got
let
you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Give me honest opinion. Is everything all good
between us?
Detective? Huh?
Is everything all good between us? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I got you.
Detective Talbert said.
I feel like we're playing Clue. You know that game Clue?
Yeah.
They did it with the candles. It was Professor Plum and the candlestick in the laundry room or whatever.
Colonel Mustard.
Yeah, Colonel Mustard. Yeah, we can assign everybody. We can assign Kohberger's the butler, right?
That's
funny. Listen, man. I don't think I'm ever going to convince you, but I'll do this for you. If you ever want to come on the show and you have an open invitation, you can jump on the panel. We'll have a night, have you on. Maybe you can maybe you can convince me. The way I stand right now, like I said, I feel like the evidence is pretty deep into Kohberger right now. I respect your view. I love it. I love the back and forth. This is great. There's a lot to explore, but I think there's going to be a lot more stuff that comes out as well too.
Yeah, it's if like I said, if you or anyone else who's listening, if you want to hear me talk more, there's so much. Like you said, maybe I can come back another time. I don't, they got so much.
Why don't you do this? Reach out to me via my email address, theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com. I have all my things. We'll have you on. Even if you don't want to show I don't know how you do your videos, if you show your face or anything, we'll do a StreamYard link. If you don't want to show your face, we can just do audio. I'll have you on and we can rub through this and maybe you convince me and turn me a little bit.
Okay,
opinionatedidiot@gmail.com. Yeah, theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com. Yeah, write me. We'll set something up. We'll have you on the show.
You say the as in THE?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Like the yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll have to do that. I'll have to definitely do it.
All right, my friend. I'm going to continue with the show if you want to watch. I appreciate it. I appreciate you calling in. This is really good. And we'll get something together soon. I'd love to have you on the panel.
All right. Nice talking with you.
All right. Take care. Oh, by the way, if you want to shout out your channel, please do. Let's shout the channel out. You got a YouTube channel?
Yes. Subconscious Mouth. That's the name of it. Feel free to check it out. I'll delve even deeper into some of these things we were talking about.
All right, brother. Nice talking to you. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks.
Have a great night. That was great. That was a great call. It was a really, really good call. Guys, check out, what was it? Did you say Subconscious Mind? Yeah, I got to go over and check out his channel, but I appreciate that call. It was really, really great. I love the conversation. We're going to have him on the panel. Maybe he can turn me a little bit. We'll get a deep dive into this stuff. But anyway, I want to go into, I want to play the rest of that video and then we'll go into DNA. And again, I am not a DNA expert, so I'm going to throw that out there first, but we're going to go over some stuff, put some stuff out there and see how you guys feel about it. Let me rewind this a little bit, about halfway point.
We were just talking about.
Yeah, so there's a TV for the other inmates, and then Kohberger has his own TV because he's being kept separate. He's about 30 feet from where the other inmates are, I'm told. So they can sometimes hear what he's watching on TV, but they don't really see him very much. He doesn't come out of the cell very much. He does go to mass on Sundays, we're told. Basically, they get some chairs together and there's a mass on Sundays, and he does come to that mass and sit there, but he doesn't have any other dialogue with the other inmates. And then after mass, he goes back to his cell.
What's this business about him being obsessed with media coverage of his case?
So we are told that, he has the TV and he can pick the channel. And we're told that oftentimes he has the news on when it is stories regarding his case, and that he is watching those stories in his cell.
Also, he's got a very strict diet.
All right, we're going to take a call here.
Yeah, he's vegan.
Oh. Good evening, Opinionated Idiot.
Bryan.
Hey, how are you?
All right.
All right.
I called about a week or so ago.
Sure.
And was talking about Harsh possibly being involved.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Drunk Turkey guy was on there. But anyway, I watched a show last night with Bella.
Mm-hmm.
Crime. I don't know what the whole channel name is, but she had a retired detective on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave a lot of really good information of how we're trying to interpret these affidavits and warrants and things like that. And he says they don't have to tell you the whole story.
Right.
They don't have to tell you.
Right.
They pick in part pieces enough to get their warrant.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to tell you the truth on the when they go live.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Anything.
Right. Here's the thing. A probable cause affidavit is just giving enough information and facts to outline a potential arrest warrant. It's not going to be the whole case. They probably have piles and piles of information that we haven't even heard yet. And what you're seeing was inquiries through this 168-page or 69-page document that was released with the sealed warrants. And that is for inquiring information and gathering evidence and getting together a outline and a trail of what was going on and just exploring all those possible avenues. That's why I always say, when people rush to judgment, I'm not rushing to judgment, but I say things, my stance is the evidence in this case, to me, my point of view here is pointing strong towards Kohberger. That's all I've said. I'm not saying he's done it. I don't know. Until maybe we get to trial and there's a 180-degree turn and it's, Joe Schmo from down the street. I don't know yet. But I'm saying that the evidence is strong. The way that it looks to me and the way that I interpret it when I look at it, it's strong. Let me touch on a point. As far as Ian Harsh, I'm going to say this. Ian Harsh was on a particular YouTube channel a couple of days ago, laughing and joking around, and that person that runs that channel is going to go out and hang out with that person. If we thought that they were involved, he probably would have been arrested already. He probably would have been in jail already. And I don't think this particular YouTuber would be going out, hanging out with them, saying they're going to grab dinner and hang out and laugh and have fun.
I saw that.
So
I watched that.
I'll let that rest. I'm not going to comment on that. They can run their channel the way they want to. We treat this case with respect. It's not a hangout session for me. If I was to go out to Idaho, the way that I would handle this is for journalistic purposes and documenting what's going on. So that's my statement on that stuff.
Yeah, I think she's been recommended to bring a bodyguard, whatever she does. But I'm just saying that I don't know the whole truth. None of us do.
No, we weren't there.
Hopefully they do, and hopefully if the case is correct and he's not being pinned for something he didn't do. But if they really, really wanted to do that, if they really wanted to railroad somebody, money and power wins.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that they're going to have to prove the case and have a lot of major evidence. And like I said, that show last night explained a lot of stuff that the way that we're not seeing it.
We're not experts. Those are people that are talking that are retired homicide detectives, retired forensics analysis, retired lawyers. I'm just some schmuck in my bedroom making a YouTube video. That's I'm just giving opinions.
Well, I'm not arguing
Sure.
with you. I'm just saying I'm agreeing that we don't know until the time. But
Sure.
It's really good if anybody can watch that Bella lady that talks about crime and stuff stories and all that. He really it was a fairly lengthy show, at least 2 hours, but it really explained a whole lot because I'm not used to following crime stuff. I just got wrapped up
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is a case that's captivated the whole world. You know, you have 4 individuals that were in a house that were brutally murdered. You know, 2 victims survived. And, you know, this case was going on and on and on, and we didn't have a name. And then, you know, 6 weeks later, we have a name, and it's shocking because I think everybody thought this case was going to go cold. I started to feel that. And then it was like, holy smokes, they have someone, you know, allegedly, this person allegedly is the person that did this. But again,
it seems like somebody pointed them in that direction.
Sure.
And they're probably trying to protect them. But yeah, it's been crazy to watch all the stuff because I have never followed anything so closely, and I'm like, oof, this is just too much. But I have followed it closely on a whole bunch of different channels just to get different ideas and opinions. But it's been crazy.
It is crazy. It's a crazy world. And like I said, we're not going to know until the trial starts. We can only speculate and give our opinions. But, you know, it's, again, I think this is good discourse among everybody here to talk about this stuff. And, you know, look, we got a long time until June. There's a lot of things that come out, go over. I heard that there's maybe some other documents being released this week. So I know that, you know, us true crimers are you know, anticipating that. And we'll go over it and look at it and debate it and have some healthy conversation over it.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you for having me on again. Last time I was kind of dragged out because I had actually chewed a gummy, so I was probably repetitive and dragging myself out. But I apologize for that, but I had to jump on there and say my 2 cents anyway.
Not a problem. Appreciate your call.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. All right. There's another caller there. We're getting calls tonight. I think people are feeling really opinionated about this. Listen, got 160 people and only 111 upvotes, guys. I need to get to 150. So if only 49 of you can hit that upvote button, we'll get to 150 and we'll keep going on with the show here. Okay, let me bring up the rest of this video and we'll finish this out and then we'll get to my kind of DNA presentation, I guess.
He's been vegan for quite a while. Dan, you remember the story his aunt talked about before the arrest. You know, he would only eat on special pots and pans that had never touched meat. So they are accommodating his vegan diet in jail. They're not going to that extreme. I mean, they're not cooking on special pots and pans, but we're told they are giving him, you know, vegetables, rice and beans. They're trying to accommodate it, but not going to the full-on extreme of, you know, cooking everything separately.
Right. And Jesse, this is the kind of jail he would sit in until he was convicted or acquitted.
Correct. And it doesn't seem like he's getting out anytime soon. Before we know we have the preliminary hearing and then the trial is going to take some time. I got to tell you one thing, though. I don't think the idea of him watching television is the biggest thing, because assuming he's innocent, wouldn't somebody want to watch everything that's happening?
Yeah, I don't think it makes him guilty. I just think I think all the other evidence is very incriminating, but I don't think that watching TV makes him, you know.
I'll play devil's advocate because the other way is looking. If he did do this, and
he
wanted the attention of it, then this is exactly what he wanted, eating it up, because we're still trying to understand what the motive would be if he allegedly did this.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
All right. All right. So let me pull up some. I don't know if I'm going to do this. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what way I want to present this. I got a couple of documents and then my own document that I wrote. Give me 2 seconds to just get into my notes. Let's see. Touch DNA versus circumstantial evidence. Okay. We talked about BK behind bars. What I want to show here is a study that I found on Touch DNA. And I'm going to try to increase this a little bit so we can read it. Okay, so this was from an independent study on Touch DNA. It was performed by a person Persistence in Touch DNA for Forensic Analysis by Megan Ramsey. I'm not going to kill everybody with too much of the language in here because I did do my own presentation. But what I wanted to touch on was just some of the tests that they had done. And then I'm going to get right to the page of page 19 of this document of the conclusion of Touch DNA. So here's some of the control studies that they performed. And what I'm going to do is I'll drop the link to this PDF if anybody wants to go back after the show and read over it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If anybody wants to get a chat to show up and highlight, just hit that super chat button. You guys can send a $2 super chat if it's a very important question that you want me to pull up. You can do that, and I'll do that. And it definitely helps this channel, and everything. Any money that goes into this channel goes right back into create the best experience for you guys. So I do appreciate it. The chat is buzzing tonight, but we're only at 114 likes. I need to get that up to at least 150 guys. So let's work the room. So basically here, what they did was they did a series of experiments with lab created DNA and touch DNA. And they got a couple of people come in to use their own touch DNA. And I'm not going to read through all of this, the information, the studies that they did. But what I'll do is I'll get to actually the conclusion of this independent study on touch DNA. And I just want to read her notes. So it says, in conclusion, this study represents a large systematic study to date of touch DNA persistence under controlled representative environment conditions. The quantity and quality of touch DNA samples was tracked over time after exposure to different pairwise temperature and humidity combinations, as well as exposure to realistic levels of ultraviolet light. These metrics were compared to those for control DNA samples exposed to the same conditions. Overall, exposure to UVB light had the biggest impact in the sustainability of control. And I want you to really listen to this. The sustainability of control in touch DNA samples, resulting in decreased DNA quantities and increased degradation by 24 hours of exposure. In the absence of UV light, touch DNA samples were generally stable under different temperature, humidity combinations for up to a period of 7 days. So what that says to me, if I'm trying to understand this, because I'm not a scientist, but if someone was to touch an object, their touch DNA, it would stay on that object for at least a period of 7 days in these conditions. So let's say you have that touch DNA on that snap. That would mean that that sheath would have had to have been touched. And if I'm understanding this, and again, I'm not a DNA expert, I'm just throwing this out there from what this article is saying, that sheath would have had to have been touched within a 7-day period by Bryan Kohberger. Again, I will leave the PDF link down there if you guys want to go over and read through this. But that's what it kind of looks like to me. So this whole theory, and again, I'm sure it's going to be debated in court, this whole theory about, well, it could have been bought 4 months ago, 5 months ago, he maybe left it there. Now they're trying to turn this on him and whatnot, all those theories. It would have to be within a 7-day. So I just want to read this over and make sure I'm clear about this. Overall exposure to UVB light, which would be like natural sunlight, had the biggest impact on stability and control of touch DNA samples, resulting in a decreased DNA quantities and increased degradation by 24 hours of exposure. In the absence of UV light, which would be in the dark, touch DNA samples were generally stable under different temperature humidity combinations for up to a period of 7 days, regardless of the substrate. So again, I will leave that down there because I don't want to touch too much on this. I want to move on with the program. But if you guys want to look that over, I'm just trying to read the chat. I probably stirred up the chat with my comments about other channels, but I digress. Is there stuff going on here that we need to bounce people out? point them out. We'll get them out of the room. If there's people causing trouble, you guys just let me know. So anyway, that's what I had on that. If you guys want to read that PDF file, you can do that as well. Crazy P saying, let's have a great chat tonight. If there's issues going on, guys, just point out the person who's doing it. We can bounce them out. And you guys as moderators you can time people out. I'm okay with that. If someone's being bad, time them out. We're good. Okay, let me go through my other next piece of material here. I just got to bring this up into this screen here. You guys, okay, let me bring this up. And I'm just trying to hit the view, read mode. All right, let's see here. So what I've done is I put together just some thoughts in my head. So I look at it. Two major factors of evidence to look at in the Kohberger case. We've talked about touch DNA. Okay, that's on the knife sheath. So touch DNA is a forensic DNA analysis technique that involves detection and analysis of DNA left behind on objects that were being touched by a person. And according to the article that I read through the independent study, they found that touch DNA would live on an object for at least 7 days. So that had to be handled by someone within a 7-day period. And I dropped that link in the chat if you guys want to go back and look at it. The accuracy of touch DNA analysis depends on varying factors such as the quality and quantity of DNA, the locations and durations of touch, and the type of surface the DNA was deposited on, and the sensitivity of the testing method used. Again, all debatable things in court. You guys still with me? You follow me? Are we okay with this stuff? We okay? Give me a thumbs up if we're okay, if everybody's still with me. We got a lot going on in the chat. Okay. Touch DNA can be a powerful tool in forensic investigation when used properly, but it's important to understand its limitations. Touch DNA analysis may not be or produce full DNA profile or provided a definitive identification in all cases, particularly when DNA samples have degraded, contains low amounts of DNA, or is contaminated with DNA from other sources. All right. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. Touch DNA handled, yeah. Okay, so therefore, the accuracy of touch DNA analysis depends on the specific circumstances of each case and the quality of DNA samples. It's essential that touch DNA analysis to be conducted by properly trained and qualified forensics experts using validated and reliable methods to ensure the accuracy and reliability of these tests. So again, this is all things that will be debated in court. This is, to me, one of the biggest kind of overall, defining factors in this case right now is that touch DNA. It puts BK at the scene of the crime at that specific time. So I went over and I looked at touch DNA cases and convictions. Let me just bring this screen down because it's kind of making things a little bright here. Okay. So touch DNA case convictions. There have been numerous criminal cases where touch DNA evidence has played into a crucial role in securing a conviction. Here are some examples. State of New Jersey versus Henderson, 2011. In this case, a man was convicted of murdering a young woman based on touch DNA evidence found on the victim's clothing. In 2015 was Pennsylvania versus Foley. In this case, a man was convicted of sexual assault based on touch DNA evidence found on the victim's clothing. In 2016, R versus Dunny and Adams. In this case, two men were convicted of murder based on touch DNA evidence found on a glove that was left at the crime scene. The state of New York versus Irving in 2018. In this case, a man was convicted of burglary based on touch DNA evidence found on a window screen. New York versus Solcombe in 2020. In this case, a man was convicted of sexual abuse based on touch DNA evidence found on a victim's clothing. You have R versus King, 2020. Another sexual assault case. And then Utah versus Burke in 2021, another sexual assault case as well. Whoops. What did I do here? I screwed up the screen. Sorry, guys. My screen went wacky for a second. I think we got it back. Are we back on the right screen? Perfect. I think we're good. We're good now. Okay, so then I wanted to take a look at, that was really trippy, it was, sorry. I didn't even see because I was just reading. So then I wanted to look at circumstantial evidence. So I wrote down a few things and just rattled these kind of off the top of my head. Circumstantial evidence. So we have cell phone pings and records. We have eyewitness accounts. We have video footage. We have purchase receipts. We have transaction history. We have social media contacts. That should say social media contacts. Media. And then browsing history. Tripping balls. I wish I was a developer. I wouldn't have to do these streams and I can make a ton more money. Okay, so circumstantial evidence is indirect evidence that implies a fact or event rather than providing it directly. It's often used in a criminal trial to establish guilt or innocence, especially when directed evidence such as eyewitness testimony is not available. The accuracy of circumstantial evidence depends on the quality. And again, it's all stuff that's going to be based and argued in court, and quantity of the evidence, which context in which is presented, and the skill of the attorneys presenting the evidence. Circumstantial evidence can be powerful and convincing if properly presented. However, it is important to recognize that circumstantial evidence may also be subject to interpretation and bias. Again, that's going to be debated in court. That's what makes court cases so interesting, that kind of battle back and forth, kind of like the phone call we had earlier. Moving on. However, it's important to recognize that circumstantial evidence may also be the subject to interpretation and bias. In some cases, circumstantial evidence may be open to alternative explanations or may be weak and inconclusive. The accuracy of circumstantial evidence in a court trial is ultimately a matter for the jury to decide. Jurors are instructed to consider all evidence presented in a trial to evaluate based on the standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt. This means the prosecution must present evidence that is strong enough to overcome any doubts or alternatives, explanations that the defense may present. In summary, circumstantial evidence can be accurate and compelling in a court trial, but its accuracy and strength depend on specific circumstances of the case and quality of the evidence presented. How's the chat going, guys? Good. Everybody looks good. Perfect. Everybody's getting along now. We're not beating each other up. Okay. All right. Circumstantial evidence is indirect evidence that suggests the fact or event rather than proving it directly. It's often used in criminal trials where there is no direct evidence available. Here are some samples of circumstantial evidence. All right. Motive. Evidence of motive can be circumstantial evidence that suggests a person had a reason to commit the crime. For example, if someone stands to benefit financially from the death of another person, it can be seen as circumstantial evidence as a motive for murder. Right now, we don't have an established motive. We have murders, but we don't have an established motive in this case. As of right now, that we know of. Opportunity, evidence of opportunity can also be circumstantial evidence. For example, if a person is seen in the vicinity of a crime scene around the time of the crime that was committed, it could suggest that they had the opportunity to commit the crime. We know allegedly where Kohberger was during these crimes. Okay. All right, guys, we need to give some love in that chat. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to see here what's going on. Let's be respectful to everybody. If not, I'll just go to a members only chat and we'll shut the chat down and only members can chat. And if you want to chat, you can join a member, but I don't want to do that to everybody. I want everybody to be free and open here. Susan Burns says, I like this channel for the great content and lovely chat. Thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate you. Sorry, guys. I know I'm talking a lot this evening, but I had a large presentation to get through. So let's move on. Behavior. Evidence of a person's behavior. And I'm going to try to wrap the show up in 2 hours tonight because I don't think we can do a 3-hour a 3-hour marathon session again. Evidence of person behavior can be circumstantial evidence. For example, if someone's behaves suspiciously after a crime, such as avoiding questions or fleeing the scene, it could suggest they were involved in this crime. And then we have to look at the physical evidence. Physical evidence that is indirectly linked to a crime can also be circumstantial evidence. For example, if a person's DNA is found at a crime scene, it could be circumstantial evidence that they were present at the scene. And we know about the DNA profile that was found at the scene on the knife sheet. How does it not place him in the house? Explain. Let's just say, according to the article, the forensic study that I just put up, 7 days he would have had to handle that sheath. So they have according to that article, and I dropped the PDF file in there, it would be 7 days. Explain how it doesn't put him at the scene of the crime. Expert testimony. Expert testimony can also be circumstantial evidence. For example, if the forensic expert testifies that the physical evidence found at a crime scene is consistent with the defendant's action, it can be seen as circumstantial evidence that they were involved in this crime. So I wanted to point out a couple of high-profile crimes that use circumstantial evidence to get convictions or not guilty. So we know Scott Peterson was convicted of murder of his pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson, based on largely and circumstantial evidence of such behavior after his disappearance and location of where her body was found. And then we had the Casey Anthony case. She was found not guilty in this case, but she was, I believe, found guilty of 4 counts of maybe, I think, lying to police or something like that, and then got time served. Obviously did not get convicted for the murder, which is crazy. In this case, Casey Anthony was accused of murdering her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee Anthony, and the prosecutor relied on circumstantial evidence such as behavior after the disappearance of her daughter and the presence of the child's body in a wooden area near their home. We had Robert Durst that was convicted in 2021. In this case, real estate heir Robert Durst was convicted of murder of his friend Susan Berman. The prosecutor relied on circumstantial evidence such as Durst's location near the scene of the crime and similarities between the handwriting of the note sent to police and Durst's handwriting. Wow, handwriting literally just got that guy in. Convicted Jeffrey Skilling in 2006. It's a former CEO of Enron, conspiracy and securities fraud. And then the biggest case of all time, Ari is saying this is a great show. Thank you so much. I know I'm reading a lot tonight, but I had a big presentation. I wanted to go through this stuff and just give some thoughts. I know I'm speaking fast. I apologize. And then, of course, the queen mother of all cases, probably one of the most famous cases of all time throughout the entire world, is the O.J. Simpson case. In this case, O.J. Simpson was accused of murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ron Goldman. The prosecution relied on circumstantial evidence such as Simpson's behavior after the murders, the location of the blood in the crime scene, and the presence of bloody glove found on his property. I don't know how that didn't happen, but that man walked. Okay. So then I wanted to compare circumstantial evidence versus physical evidence. And that's what we talked about in the very beginning of this presentation. So circumstantial evidence and physical evidence are 2 types of evidence that can be used in a court trial. While both can be important in establishing guilt or innocence, there is some difference between the 2. Circumstantial evidence is indirect evidence that implies a fact or event rather than providing it directly. It includes evidence of such motive, opportunity, behavior, and expert testimony. Circumstantial evidence relies on inference and deduction to connect the dots and suggest that a particular fact or event occurred is often used when direct evidence, such as eyewitness testimony or DNA evidence, is not available. So then we look at the physical evidence. On the other hand, it's tangible evidence that can be seen, touched, or tested. It includes evidence such as DNA, fingerprints, footprints, and weapons. Physical evidence provides direct evidence that can establish a fact or event of reasonable doubt. Physical evidence is often considered more powerful and convincing than circumstantial evidence, and it provides concrete evidence that links a person to a crime. While physical evidence can be very compelling, it's not always available in every case. In many cases, circumstantial evidence may only be evidence available to establish guilt or innocence. It's important to recognize that circumstantial evidence can be very powerful and convincing when presented properly. However, it is subject to interpretation in the case and should be evaluated carefully in the light of all evidence in cases. Now I can breathe. How's the chat going, guys? Are you doing well? I know I'm reading a lot. We have 126 upvotes. If we can just get to like 140, we have 150 people watching. That would be fantastic. It would be really great. Okay. Yeah, excuse me. Amber's saying, I want to have to go to members only. It's not there for people who can't afford memberships because it's been there before. Yeah. Shogun is upvoted. Thank you so much. I know that I'm just reading a lot tonight. The chat's going way too fast, but you guys are handling it here. If there's people being rude, that's what my moderators are for. You can time them out a little bit. If we have to bounce someone out, I don't want to do that. We want to have a free and open platform, but we want to approach all of this with respect. So let's respect everybody there in the chat. And everybody has opinions. How's the show so far, guys? Everything good? Give me a thumbs up down there. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know how the show's going. What do you guys think? All right, guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the preliminary trial, of what we can expect in this preliminary trial. Preliminary trial, what to expect. A preliminary trial is also known as pre-trial hearing or preliminary hearing, is a legal proceeding held before a trial to determine if there's enough evidence to proceed with a trial. Here's what you guys can expect during the preliminary trial. You're going to have an introduction. The judge will introduce the case and explain the purpose of the preliminary hearing. Prosecution will now present evidence. The prosecution will present evidence to show that a crime was committed and that the defendant is the one who committed it. This evidence should include witness testimony, physical evidence, and other relevant information. The defense then has the option to cross-examine witnesses. After the prosecution presents its evidence, the defense may cross-examine the witness to challenge their testimony or raise doubts in the evidence presented. Defense may, and then you have the defense may present some evidence in this case, in the prelim hearing. The defense may also present evidence in its favor, such as alibis or evidence that contradicts the prosecution's case. The judge decides, based on the evidence presented, that the judge will decide whether there's enough evidence to proceed to trial. If the judge finds there's enough evidence, the case will proceed to trial. If the judge finds there's not enough evidence, the case may be dismissed. So overall, the preliminary trial is the way for the court to be determined if there's enough evidence to proceed to trial. It is an important step in the legal process and can help both prosecution and defense to prepare for the trial. So that is my kind of presentation for this evening. And what I want to do is finish this up. If I can get this to shut down, hang on one second. Finish this up with about a 14-minute video from News Nation, and it's going to touch on again what to expect in the preliminary hearing. You guys can keep chatting away there, and we'll wrap this up soon. And then before we wrap up, we'll get to some of the chats and see how everything's going. And we'll close it up because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. All right, guys.
As far as alleged murderers go, Bryan Kohberger is one of the most sophisticated I've seen in my more than 20 years of practice.
Since accused killer Bryan Kohberger's arrest late last year, many questions remain in the University of Idaho quadruple murder case. But experts now tell us new bombshell information could be revealed at Kohberger's preliminary hearing.
I think we will learn a lot at the preliminary hearing because there's different types of homicide. Here we're talking about first-degree murder. That generally is premeditated murder. Typical examples of lying in wait, and of course, that is what the prosecution is charging here.
I can't pull up, but Dr. Bob, I don't know why it's not allowing me, has gifted a membership to a lucky T 2014 was gifted a membership from Dr. Bob. Let's give the new member a chime.
I got you, homie.
I got you, homie. All right. Let's go back here. I'm going to widen the screen so you guys can see my
Bryan Kohberger
beautiful
is not
face.
even eligible for bail under Idaho laws.
On November 13th, 2022,
Thank you, Dr.
4
Bob.
University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death in their off-campus home. After weeks of a nationwide manhunt, suspected killer Bryan Kohberger was arrested just before the new year.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murder of Ethan.
So I won't be going to the hearing. It's kind of goofy to go out for the prelim, and I'm going to tell you right now, all the hotels in that area are completely booked. I've already looked. I thought about maybe renting an RV and just staying at like an RV park, but I'm not too sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for the actual trial to be set, because I'm going to tell you right now, all these people that have booked hotels thinking that this is going to happen in Moscow, I don't think it will. I think it will get moved, but we'll hang in there, and I would go to the trial. Yeah, of course. I just need the funds. That's the thing. And the best way that I could come up with that kind of money is through the channel, through support of the channel. But I've thought about some options, but I'm certainly going to wait till the actual trial and try to at least make it out there for a couple of days to do some research and some kind of man on the street stuff, some journalistic man on the street stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Starting off with the iconic brow freeze, I love how easy this is to use. You literally just take a spoolie and apply it to your brows, and it literally locks them in all day.
This is known as the golden ratio method, and Anastasia actually passed.
Zana, Madison, and Kaylee.
At the time of his arrest, Kohberger was at his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. He was later extradited to Idaho, where he's been in jail for the last 3 months. He appeared in Latah County Court in early January, where he was formally charged with all 4 murders.
Yeah, me too.
It alleges that the defendant, Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13th of 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did unlawfully enter a residence located at 1122 King Road, Moscow, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder.
Since Kohberger's January court appearances, we haven't heard much about the accused
Guys,
killer, but we can expect
the
to learn
board.
a lot more at his preliminary hearing this summer.
Usually preliminary hearings are done within a day or a few hours, but obviously this is not an ordinary case. This is a quadruple murder, and a lot of the evidence hasn't been revealed because of the gag order and because we're dealing with search warrants in 3 states.
A gag order was issued in Kohberger's case early on, meaning a lot of information about the case is still under lock and seal. Former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani tells Law and Crime Network it's one of the most intense gag orders he's ever seen.
This is one of the broadest gag orders I've ever seen. It covers the attorneys, parties, and the victims. You don't typically see that. I think the magistrate judge in this case
2851.
wanted to be overly cautious.
But there is likely a reason behind the strict order.
Supreme Court has generally upheld gag orders when they're necessary to protect the rights of a criminal defendant. And we know that in death penalty cases, the defense actually has a better chance of getting a death sentence overturned on appeal than they do with actually getting a not guilty verdict or a life sentence when it comes to a jury, especially in a case like this.
More than 30 news organizations have petitioned the court to have that gag order lifted. Kohberger's defense team is pushing back, calling the media's coverage of the case, quote, twisted in court documents filed with the Idaho Supreme Court. But according to Romani, even with a gag order still in place, we can expect new details to come out at the preliminary hearing.
I expect to see sort of 4 broad categories of information. Obviously, the scene of the murders, the home in Idaho. We're going to hear a lot of evidence what was found there. Some of that's already come out. Obviously, Bryan Kohberger's car, that white Hyundai Elantra, we know that's important because that was law enforcement's key piece of evidence. That's what they asked the public to help them out with.
Before a suspect was named in the case, the Moscow Police Department announced they were searching for a white Hyundai Elantra, naming it a vehicle of interest.
We are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation.
When investigators executed a search warrant at Kohberger's parents' home, they recovered multiple items from his white Hyundai Elantra, including goggles, hiking boots, a shovel, and a wrench.
I would really like to see, and this is very sad to say, but is any of the victim's blood in that white Hyundai Elantra in Kohberger's apartment at his parents' home? Something more to connect him to the scene of the crime, because of course we know that the self-site evidence really stopped, right? Either he put his phone in airplane mode, or he turned it off, or he left it somewhere. Really, the only evidence that really kind of puts him at the scene of the crime that we've heard so far is just that single source DNA in the knife sheath. And if you want to put someone to death for the state of Idaho, you really want some more evidence than that.
Because of the nature of Kohberger's charges, he could face the death penalty if convicted. Law and Crime Network host and
I think if you have an iPhone, Bryan has to drop the link. And what link are you looking for? Just let me know, Amber, and I can get the link over. You looking for a membership link? I can do that if someone wants to join membership. Let me see. No, I don't join as a member as my own channel. That would be silly. I run the channel. Let me see. Are you looking for, Bryan, can you grant memberships from Super Chats? Super Chats is just direct payment to me. Memberships would be something that you would gift out. So Super Chats go directly to me. Memberships, if you're gifting them, they can be gifted out to someone, but the membership still counts towards me. But Super Chats are instantaneous. Memberships are monthly. If you're looking for, what are you guys looking for? Let me see. I can get the membership link. Hang on. If you guys are looking for that. Sorry, guys. I'm really discombobulated tonight. Where is the link? Where's the link for memberships? If you just go down, if anyone wants to join a membership, just hit the join button in the bottom of the crawl. You'll see the join button if that's what you guys are looking for. I'm gonna try this link and see if this link is good. That might be. Yeah, they get gifted at random. Probably mostly when they get gifted, it's people that just chat the most. And if you guys want to join a membership, there's my membership. And then Super Chats are always welcome as well, too. I appreciate it.
Public Defender Brian Buckmeyer says the prosecution will likely use the preliminary hearing to decide how to move forward.
They're probably looking to see what the court of public opinion thinks after the preliminary hearing. Because even though it's not Florida, they looked at the Parkland shooter and that person didn't get the death penalty. And if you can kill 17 people and injure 17 more and still have life in prison, then the argument for all defense attorneys would be, why shouldn't Bryan Kohberger also get life in prison? But I think after we hear about the heinousness of this crime, the prosecution will kind of get a temperature reading on the court of public opinion, and then based on when they have to make that announcement, because you often have to do that
if everybody's first time over
that's when
here,
you may or may not hear if they're seeking
please
the death penalty.
smash the like button.
Romani says Idaho's law is
that bell
unique
notification.
in that both the defendant's
I'm a live
plea
streamer.
and the
Every time I go live, you guys will get
pursue the death penalty comes after a
notifications of when I go live
Well,
or when I
Idaho
drop
is
videos.
unique in that there's no arraignment until after the preliminary hearing. So most states and in the federal system as well, once a defendant is arrested, he or she is brought into court and they plead guilty or not guilty. Well, Idaho, that plea doesn't happen until after the preliminary hearing. But really, I think what the prosecution is preparing for is after the preliminary hearing. So assuming the magistrate judge finds probable cause, then Bryan Kohberger will be transferred from magistrate court.
Yes, 150.
That's where a senior judge will actually
watching.
oversee
I
the
appreciate
jury trial.
all you guys.
Then
we
Bryan
got to
Kohberger
smash that
will
like
plead,
button.
I assume he's going to plead not guilty, and the prosecution has 60 days to give notice of whether they're going to seek the death penalty.
After Kohberger's arrest, a probable cause affidavit was unsealed, revealing that a single source of male DNA was discovered on a knife sheath left behind at the crime scene. When compared with DNA,
How do you type so fast? You guys type
Kohberger's
fast.
parents' home, there was a near perfect match. But should
Are
the
you guys mostly on are you on a computer or your phones? When you watch me, are you on your computer or phone?
prosecution pursue the
Let
death
me know in the
penalty,
chat.
Romani says they
Computer or
would need to
phone?
present more DNA
You guys
evidence
type
than we've
fast.
seen so far.
That's probably not enough to put someone to death because the defense is going to be able to argue that this DNA was transferred, and there's probably a lot more DNA in this house. It's reportedly a party house. People are coming and going. You really want something more than just one source of DNA if you're going to.
I love it. You guys are awesome.
12 jurors. Not only return a guilty verdict, to return a death.
You guys are so awesome.
Hopefully, if you're the state and for these victims, there's a lot more evidence than what's been publicly reported so far.
And based on past high-profile cases in Idaho, Romani believes prosecutors will ultimately seek the death penalty.
TV.
I fully expect this to be a death penalty case for a few reasons.
Top secret information. I love that.
This is great, but it's way more than greens. What you really
First, we know that public defender Ann Taylor is one of about a dozen or so death penalty qualified lawyers in the state of Idaho that can handle a death penalty trial as a first chip. In addition, the defense has requested a second death penalty qualified lawyer. And of course, we know how Idaho prosecutors have handled other cases. The probably most famous one that's happening right now is the doomsday cult couple, Chad and Lori Daybell, who allegedly killed their kids and buried them in the backyard. Prosecutors are seeking a death penalty in that case, and I expect them to be consistent and seek the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger.
But before all that, we can expect a days-long preliminary hearing.
A preliminary hearing is like what we call a mini trial. It's a lower standard of proof, so they're not proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And they're going to put on as much evidence as they need to kind of meet that threshold of saying, Judge, we have enough here, let's go to trial. I expect a 4-day, maybe a full work week's worth of a preliminary hearing. Because yes, you have 4 murders. Yes, you have all of this circumstantial evidence, all of this forensics that not just places Kohberger inside the apartment, but how they actually tracked him down. Because they don't just have to prove that the murders occurred, they have to prove that Bryan Kohberger is the one that did it. So I would buckle up for a very long and probably technical preliminary hearing.
In the multiple days of the hearing, Buckmeyer believes we're bound to learn more about the murders.
In the preliminary hearing, I would bet 100% we're going to hear new facts that we have not heard from these search warrants. Because one, the prosecution is still doing an investigation. There may be more information that they found out since his arrest that they're not going to present. But the prosecution will not let, quote unquote, the cat out of the bag completely. They're not going to show all of their cards because then the defense has a longer amount of time to prepare. So they're going to show just enough to show the judge, this can go to trial, a jury needs to decide this. But I think just enough is going to be a lot more than we've heard so far.
Romani agrees, saying the prosecution won't give the defense a roadmap of their case. Rather, they will call witnesses strategically. He says most of the witnesses will likely be law enforcement involved in the investigation, but others could be called to the stand as well.
Potentially, and this is where the strategy comes into play. The prosecution may want to present some lay witnesses, civilians. Now, to do that, you really want to make sure that they don't testify in a way that might be inconsistent at trial, right? So it's testimony under oath. So if you have concerns about a witness that may testify differently, you might not want to put them on the stand if you're the prosecution. However, if you're concerned that a witness might be unavailable, or you want to lock in their testimony.
I saw them back at the Monsters of Rock tour at the old Foxborough Stadium.
That might be a reason to have that witness testify at the preliminary hearing.
While the defense could call witnesses, Romani says that isn't likely.
They're just trying to get that free evidence that, you know, obviously they have the discovery, they have the reports, they have the witness statements, they have the forensics, but they really want to see those witnesses testify on the stand. See what they're going to say,
so much.
and that'll allow them
Appreciate
to prepare
that.
cross-examination and
That's
poke
kind of
holes in that testimony at the jury trial.
Instead, Romani expects the preliminary hearing to be prosecution heavy. He believes we could soon learn what prompted Kohberger to allegedly kill.
Or what we're going to hear a lot about during the preliminary hearing. And of course, evidence of the potential motive. There's been a lot of speculation that this was related to stalking of one or more of the victims, and you know what Bryan Kohberger did to message them on social media or contact them or go to their business where they work. I think
that's crazy.
That is generally what we're going to see.
Thank you. I appreciate
After
that.
the hearing, there's no definite timeline for a trial.
If the defense takes the position that they did in January, that they need more time, and they tell the court, Your Honor, we are not ready to present a defense in this case, the defendant's already in custody. If the judge were to force a trial before the defense is ready, that creates an issue on appeal.
And if and when a trial does begin, Romani expects a lengthy jury selection.
In the modern age, on crime and social media,
He's going to love all eyes focused on him.
You know, everyone in the world has heard about Bryan Kohberger. It's not like if you go to another part of Idaho, you're going to have jurors that haven't heard about this case. So I think those change of venue motions are a lot less important now than they might have been decades ago, with really kind of changes in technology and trials being broadcast live.
Whether it's learning about new DNA evidence, a victim's
I only
potential
see
stalker,
138.
or even Kohberger's past, Romani believes the
people
accused
watching.
killer's strategic actions will take center stage.
We got to get up there to 150, 150
One important
likes
thing
before we
to
end the
note
stream.
is
Come on,
how
guys.
careful Bryan Kohberger is. Here's someone who reportedly wears gloves when he goes to the grocery store. Obviously, he's very knowledgeable about our criminal justice system. He's a PhD student. Maybe he's watching Law and Crime. But typically in a murder scene like this, you're going to expect a lot more forensic evidence to be there. Talked about the cell site evidence. You know, most murderers don't have the knowledge and wherewithal to turn off their cell phone to make sure it doesn't track them. So as far as alleged murderers go, Bryan Kohberger is one of the most sophisticated I've seen in my more than 20 years of practice.
Kohberger's preliminary hearing is set for June 26th and is expected to last at least 5 days. Law and Crime Network will be in Idaho for the hearing to bring you the latest developments in the case.
All right. That's it. That is it. That's all I got. Do we hang out? You guys want to hang out a little bit? We can hang out a little bit. We still got a little time. If anybody wants to call, phone lines are open. 774-855-9400. If this is your first time over on the channel, please make sure to like and subscribe. Turn your bell notifications on so every single time I go live or drop a new video, you guys will know. I live stream every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, right now, sorry, I'm looking up at the big screen. You know, our biggest draw is Kohberger stuff. I do other shows. I can't do Kohberger all the time. There's just not enough, you know, material right now. There's no new facts. But I'm open, you know, to debate and have conversations about it. But on Tuesday night, we'll be back and we'll do some Jeffrey Dahmer. And I actually have some audio of an hour-long conversation from Patrick Kennedy, which was the arresting officer of Dahmer. And he got to speak with Dahmer for about a week and got the confession out of him. And he will speak. It's an audio recording, so there's no video. But Pat Kennedy can tell a story, and it's an amazing story of how he came in contact with Dahmer and got the confession. Unfortunately, Pat Kennedy passed away quite a few years ago, so rest in peace. But it's pretty interesting to hear his recount during that podcast of what happened. And I think that you guys will be certainly engaged. And, you know, if some more Kohberger stuff comes up, we can get into that, or, you know, go from there. Hey, everybody, thank you for checking out this video. If you like the content here today, make sure to click on one of these videos up here. I would appreciate it. And before you head out, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on that bell notification so every time I drop a new video or go live, you guys will know. Thanks.